everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our Student Spotlight series, where we showcase some of the work of our past students here at CCIR. My name is Jackson, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Audit. Hello, Audit. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what year of school you're in, and what course you took with CCIR.
Sure. My name is Aadit Sawhney. I'm from Livermore, California, and I'm currently a junior at Granada High School, and I took the one-on-one mentorship course at CCIR.
Gotcha. What was your project uh with the one-on-one course?
My project was the role of personalized medicine in the management of type 1 diabetes mellitus.
Okay. And who did you work with?
I worked with Dr. Sijim Sahin from the Joslin Diabetes Center at Harvard Medical School.
Okay. How did you become interested in this topic of type 1 diabetes?
I became interested in this topic when I was trying to find like I was always interested in diseases, what they were, and just wanted to explore other topics. And I looked at type 1 diabetes because it had treatments, but not a full cure. So that's like kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to explore this topic.
Okay. And so what did your research project consist of? Was this a literature review? What data did you work with?
My project was a literature review paper, and I worked with multiple types of data, especially knowing what was type 1 diabetes and what type of treatments existed. So, with my mentor, I worked with knowing what type 1 diabetes was. So, like how it's an autoimmune disease and how it affects the immune system, and how the immune system destroys the insulin producing beta cells in the pancreas, which like leads to long-term deficiency of insulin. I also looked at multiple types of treatment methods for type 1 diabetes. Most commonly used was like insulin therapy, and then there were other types of therapies like immunotherapy, beta cell transplantation, and also newer technologies being used such as insulin pumps and continuous glucose monitoring.
And what did you find from the literature review about those different treatments? Were any of them more effective for different populations with type 1 diabetes?
Um, from my findings, most commonly used was insulin therapy. Though immunotherapy, beta cell transplantation are more not so wide scale used, and they're still in clinical trials, and only a certain amount of the population are allowed to have those types of treatments. And same goes for insulin pumps and continuous glucose monitors. Though for continuous glucose monitors, that's widespreadly available to almost everyone, to the general public. But some populations, it can be inaccessible due to the cost of the glucose monitors, or they're just not sold in that country.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, could you tell us maybe something new that you had learned about type 1 diabetes or about its treatments?
Sure. Something new that I learned was that it's a disease that can be given to you at birth. And it was something that I just did not know before going into CCIR. And it was genuinely something that was pretty shocking to know about, that you could be given that disease at birth, and you would have it lifelong, and you would have to give yourself insulin lifelong. Um, that was something that was really shocking and new for me. Also was at first when I started the program, I just thought that type 1 diabetes was like something that happens to millions of people, and I thought there was a cure to it. But the more I researched with my mentor, I was able to find out that it's just something that wasn't that didn't really have a cure. Instead, it had treatments, and those treatments are expensive over time as well.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so is type 1 diabetes, is it only congenital, or can people get it later in life, or is it that people might find out later in life that they have it, or none of the above?
It is something that you can get at birth, and also it is something that you can get later in life. That's and there are like I was talking about biomarkers and immunotherapies. Doctors are actually using these types of things to figure out if someone would be at risk to getting type 1 diabetes later
Mhm.
in life. So they can use biomarkers. They can also run genetic tests. And uh, recently, with the new AI technologies, they can use all of the data they get from their genetic tests and the types of tests they run. They can actually figure out the best treatment plan and when you could get type 1 diabetes, or if you're actually at a, um, or if you can actually even get it.
What biomarkers are we talking about in particular?
In particular, there are, I don't remember the exact biomarkers, but they're like the indicators that show in specific genes that you might have diabetes. Um, yeah.
And are people already training AI to come through data sets on biomarkers for predisposition to type 1 diabetes?
Yes, so there are a couple of teams around the world teaching computer systems to like analyze data models and like make predictions for them. So they plug in data and then they get like predictions for disease. And like I was reading for one literature review, they were talking about how someone with type 1 diabetes, they gave the AI data for someone with type 1 diabetes and someone without, and they did it at a pretty large scale. And they were able to figure out if someone would be at a risk for type 1 diabetes or when they would get it and what type of treatments would be best for them, whether to start the treatments earlier or whether to start the treatments later, what would be the best for the quality of their life and their financials overall.
Do you know what sorts of challenges AI, do you know what sorts of challenges AI faces in its ability to detect and determine treatment options for diabetes?
There are a couple of challenges. One challenge that I was particularly amazed about was the cost
Mhm.
because using AI and having that amount of a big amount of data in AI, it can actually use lots of money and it can actually get expensive over time. So that was like kind of one of the challenges. And then the second one was giving AI people's personal data, which was something that I was reading about, and it was like um some people might not feel comfortable letting AI know their data, know their genes, know the specifics that doctors give it. So one challenge that they actually said was the invasion of privacy. So that was like kind of what I was more surprised about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at this current moment that we're speaking, how accurate is AI in detecting those biomarkers and recommending treatment options?
Currently it is still in its test phase, so it obviously makes a lot of mistakes, and scientists and engineers are working pretty hard to make the AI much more accurate. But currently, I would say it's pretty accurate on finding if someone would have type 1 diabetes, but um, it's still evolving, it's still relatively new, and it's something that I wish and hope to see something grow in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, zooming out a little bit, what were some of the big key takeaways from the literature review? Maybe could you tell us what are the big discussions being had around this area of research and the questions being raised?
Could you repeat the question again, please? Sorry
Sure
about
thing. Your key takeaways and what is your sense of the discussion and the state of research in this field, the questions people are asking?
Um, Couple of key takeaways were whether if there would be a cure in the possible near future. And it's a really vague question that a lot of people ask whether there will be a cure or not. But with this, there was a research literature review that I was reading, and it was about insulin transplantation, where insulin beta cell transplantation, where they would introduce new insulin beta cells into your pancreas, so you could start reproducing the pancreatic beta cells to create insulin, and how they could use immunosuppressants to stop your immune system from um, destroying the pancreatic beta cells. So with these two treatments working together, you would no longer need to use insulin injections or any other types of treatments, and you would just have to monitor your glucose levels over time. And I think this is pretty close to finding a cure, as if someone could have this for lifelong, you would never really have to insert insulin into your body again. You would never really have to um, buy anything, and it's just overall, it's kind of like a cure, but currently it's not for long term. It only works for a couple of months, and then it does become redundant and it no longer works, and then you do have to go back into insulin therapy. So though there is no cure at this time, I think this is like one of the biggest ways to like show there might be a cure if we can get it to work longer.
Hmm, okay. And so, uh, do you have plans for publishing your literature review? Have you thought about the life of this paper beyond your course at CCIR?
Yes, so I was actually working with the CCIR publishing team just last week, and we were looking at journals where I could publish my paper at, and I'm currently reformatting one of my research papers to fit the submission requirements for the journal, and I hope to publish my research paper at the end of this month.
Okay, fantastic. Do you have previous experience with academic writing, with research papers like this?
I did not have any previous experiences, and this was a first time experience for me. It was actually really interesting, and I really loved the experience here at CCIR. Um, Mainly because I got to work at my own pace, and I had my mentor helping me along, and she would help me with my research paper, any questions I had, especially at the beginning when there were new types of terminologies that were coming up, and it just was really hard at first, but now um, as someone who's completed the program, it just makes reading literature reviews much easier, understanding complex terminologies much easier. And at first, I never really did any research, but now, if I were to do research again, I think I'd write really something really well. And it's just overall a really great experience that I had.
That's fantastic. So do you plan on continuing this line of research or something adjacent in the near future?
In the near future, I wish to go into biomedical engineering and medicine. Um, so in a couple months, I'm applying to college and I hope to apply for biomedical engineering. And then once I do finish my undergraduate, I hope that I could go to medical school and hopefully become a doctor in the future.
Okay, okay. And how do you think this course prepared you for that career path in biomedical engineering?
I think this course definitely like strengthened my interest in it. Because at first this project like helped me realize how like engineering, biology, and medicine that how they are all connected into like improving patient care and like developing future technologies for medicine and helping the general public.
Okay, that's great. What other sorts of challenges besides the new terminologies came up in preparing this literature review?
Um, Other challenges were writing a large paper because in school we're only like required to write like couple of pages. But here at CCIR we had to write something really large, really big. It had lots of information. And another thing was that I had to read multiple other types of literature review papers. And then from their different types of information, connect those into making my own argument and synthesizing all of the information to create something of my own, which we don't really get to do in normal high school classes. And it's just something that was really challenging too, but it was, I really improved in that over time. And yeah.
That's great. No, definitely academic writing and research writing are very important skills. And well, the only way to learn is by doing, and by doing it with good mentorship and people that'll explain it well. So with that, if someone were to come to you and say they were interested in doing a similar project with CCIR, or if you could go back in time and talk to yourself at the beginning of the literature review, what general advice might you have?
Um, Something I would say for myself would be like, um, getting exposure to like real research at an early age is like really good. Um, Rereading multiple literature reviews, taking advantage of your mentor. They're there to help you, ask them questions. Um, I would also say, though at the start it can be overwhelming, you would eventually get better at what you're doing, reading, writing, understanding complex terminologies, facing challenges. At first it's hard, but over time it would get easier and better for you. Um, and that's like something that I would give like an advice to myself and to like others coming into CCIR.
Okay, that's a really nice full circle perspective. You mentioned your mentor.
Yes.
How was working with them? What was that like?
Um, Working with my mentor was really nice. She helped me with almost everything that I needed help with. She would review my papers like at the end of every week we would go over like literature reviews that I read, and she would help me understand a couple of things that I may not have understood. Along with that, she helped me write my research paper. So she went over grammar mistakes, anything that I was repeating multiple times, or anything that was just like not making sense. She would help me understand it, and she overall helped me with the entirety of my research paper, and it's actually something that I'm really proud of now.
That's awesome. Well, Audit, is there anything else you would like to share about your project and about your course with CCIR?
Uh, Not really, other than the fact it was a really great experience working with my mentor and with the publishing team here at CCIR.
I'm glad to hear it. I think you have a bright future ahead of you, and I'm really excited. And I hope this paper finds a nice home in a journal soon. So.
Thank you.